Have you ever felt trapped in a place with no escape and no help? Do you know fear when no one believes you? If yes, this story is for you today. Once upon a time, there was a man named Daniel. He was 32 years old and worked as a traveling salesman moving between cities and towns every week alone. Daniel lived a simple life, but inside he felt tired and empty. He wanted peace, just one quiet night, where he could sleep without worry or noise around him. Every day looked the same for him. He drove long roads, met strangers, sold products, and returned to lonely rooms, while others felt happy. Daniel felt something missing inside always. One cold evening, Daniel reached a small town far from the city. The streets were empty, and the wind moved slowly, making the place feel strange and quiet around him. He looked around and saw an old hotel standing near the road. The sign was broken, the lights were weak, but Daniel was too tired to find another place. He parked his car and stepped out slowly. Cold air touched his face, and a strange silence surrounded him, as if someone was watching him quietly from somewhere nearby. Daniel walked toward the hotel and pushed the door open. It made a long creaking sound. Inside, the air felt cold and still, like time had stopped completely. At the front desk stood a tall, thin man with no expression on his face. He looked at Daniel without blinking, making Daniel feel uncomfortable and slightly afraid without reason. Daniel spoke softly, asking for one room for the night. The man nodded slowly and gave him a key, without smiling, without speaking more than necessary at all. The man said room 207 in a flat voice. Daniel felt something strange, but he ignored it and walked toward the stairs, trying not to think too much. The hallway upstairs was long and narrow. Lights flickered above him, and each step made a loud echo, as if the walls were listening to his movements carefully. Room 207 stood at the end of the hallway. Daniel stopped for a moment, then opened the door, slowly, feeling a strange fear inside his chest. Inside, the room looked normal. There was a bed, a table, and a small lamp, but the air felt heavy, like the room had not been opened for years. Daniel placed his bag on the floor and sat on the bed. He felt very tired, so he lay down slowly, hoping to finally rest after a long day. He closed his eyes, but sleep did not come. The silence in the room felt too loud, making his mind stay awake and alert without any clear reason at all. After some time, he heard a soft sound. It was a slow scraping noise, like something moving gently nearby. Daniel opened his eyes and looked around carefully. He stood up and touched the wall beside him. It felt very cold, colder than normal. He quickly pulled his hand back, feeling confused and slightly scared inside. Daniel whispered to himself that he was just tired and needed sleep. He turned off the light and lay down again, but his body stayed tense and alert. Minutes passed slowly in silence. Then suddenly Daniel felt something different. The space around him seemed smaller, and the air felt tighter, making it harder to breathe normally. He opened his eyes quickly and looked at the walls around him. His heart started beating faster as he noticed something impossible happening right before his eyes clearly. The walls were moving slowly and silently toward him. Daniel stood up in shock, unable to understand what was happening as the room seemed to shrink around him. He said loudly that this could not be real. He stepped back quickly, but there was less space behind him now, and fear began to take control of him. Daniel ran to the door and opened it fast. He rushed into the hallway, breathing heavily, feeling cold sweat on his face and fear growing stronger inside him. He stood outside the room, shaking and confused. He looked back at the door, trying to understand what had just happened inside that strange and silent room moments ago. Daniel quickly went downstairs to the front desk. The same man was still standing there, exactly the same, as if he had not moved at all. Daniel said something was wrong with his room, and the walls were closing in. His voice was shaking, full of fear, but the man remained calm and silent. The man replied slowly that nothing was wrong. His voice had no emotion, no concern, making Daniel feel even more confused and alone in that strange situation. Daniel looked around the lobby again. Everything seemed normal, too normal, like nothing had happened, like his fear was not real and only existed inside his mind. He felt lost and unsure, but deep inside, he knew something was wrong. Slowly, he walked back toward his room, with fear silently following him step by step. Daniel stood again in front of room 207. His hands slowly moved toward the door, but his heart beat faster as fear whispered that something inside was waiting. He pushed the door open carefully. The room looked normal again. The bed, the table, the lamp, everything was the same, but the silence felt heavier than before. He stepped inside slowly and closed the door behind him. This time, he did not sit or lie down. He just stood there watching the walls carefully. Minutes passed, and nothing happened. Daniel tried to breathe slowly, trying to calm his mind, but his body stayed tense, as if danger was still hiding nearby. Then suddenly that same sound returned, a soft scraping noise moving slowly through the room. Daniel turned his head quickly, his eyes searching every corner carefully. The walls began moving again, slowly, quietly, coming closer. Daniel stepped back, his hands shaking this time. He knew it was real and not his imagination anymore. He ran to the door again, but when he pulled it, nothing happened. The door would not open. Panic rushed through his body as fear grew stronger inside him. Daniel pushed harder on the door, but it stayed locked. The room felt smaller, now the walls closing in slowly, as if the space was alive and watching him. His breathing became heavy, his chest felt tight. He looked around searching for anything to help, but there was nothing, only walls moving closer with silent pressure. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The walls stopped moving. The room became still again. The door slowly unlocked by itself, leaving Daniel frozen in confusion and fear. He opened the door carefully and stepped out again into the hallway. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to walk faster this time. As he walked, he noticed something strange. The hallway looked longer than before, much longer than it should be, as if the building had changed its shape. He turned back, but the stairs were gone. The path behind him was now just more hallway stretching into darkness, making his fear grow deeper inside him. Daniel whispered softly, "This is not possible." His voice echoed strangely, as if the walls were repeating his words back to him slowly. He started walking forward quickly, his steps echoing louder with every second. The lights flickered above him, creating shadows that moved in unnatural ways. At the end of the hallway, he saw a door slightly open, a soft light coming from inside, giving him a small feeling of hope. Daniel walked toward the door slowly and pushed it open. Inside, he saw an old man sitting quietly on a chair, looking calm and peaceful. The old man looked at Daniel and smiled gently. His eyes were kind and wise, unlike the cold man downstairs who showed no emotion at all. Daniel asked quickly, "What is happening here? Why is this place changing?" The old man listened carefully and then spoke in a soft, calm voice. He said, "This place shows you what you carry inside, your fear, your silence, your thoughts. It does not change the walls, it changes your mind." Daniel looked confused and shook his head, saying, "No, this is real. The walls moved. I saw them. I felt them closing around me." The old man nodded slowly and said, "Yes, it feels real because your fear is strong. Fear can build walls stronger than stone around your mind." Daniel felt angry and scared. He said, "I just want to leave this place. I do not understand what is happening to me right now." The old man stood up slowly and walked closer. He held out his hand and said, "Sometimes to leave you must first understand what is holding you inside." Daniel stepped back, unsure if he could trust this man. Everything felt strange, nothing made sense, and yet the old man felt different, calm and real. The old man took two small objects from his pocket, one dark and one bright. He showed them to Daniel and spoke again slowly. He said, "Inside every person, there are two choices. One is fear and one is courage. Both grow depending on what you choose every day." Daniel looked at the objects carefully, his heart still beating fast. He did not fully understand, but something inside